Why old Minecraft felt different. There was a time when logging into Minecraft felt like stepping into another world, not just a game. You weren't bombarded with achievements, tutorials, or an overwhelming variety of tools and mechanics. You were simply dropped into a vast, untouched landscape with nothing but your bare hands and an endless stretch of possibilities. There was no pressure, no external goals imposed upon you, just the freedom to create, explore, and experience the world at your own pace. Back then, Minecraft felt more personal. It wasn't about grinding for the best enchantments or following the most efficient mining strategies. It was about exploring, making mistakes, and finding joy in the simplest things. Building a tiny wooden shack before nightfall, discovering a cave and feeling genuine fear, or stumbling upon a beautiful landscape that became your home for months. Every moment felt like your own, unfiltered by tutorials or optimal strategies. The lack of external pressures made every achievement feel special, no matter how small. Even something as simple as finding coal felt rewarding because you had to search for it yourself, without the guidance of shortcuts. Today, the game is more polished, more balanced, and arguably more refined. The mechanics are deeper, the biomes more diverse, and the possibilities more extensive. Yet, for all its advancements, some of the raw magic has faded. The game holds your hand more, and efficiency often replaces wonder. It makes you question, was it really just nostalgia, or did old Minecraft truly offer something that modern Minecraft, in all its grandeur, struggles to recreate? Perhaps it was the imperfections that made it feel so immersive, the unpredictability that kept it alive, and maybe, just maybe, simplicity was the secret ingredient all along. The magic of pre-1.9 combat. Do you remember when PvP felt like a chaotic flurry of clicks? When battles weren't about who had the best timing, but who could outmaneuver their opponent with quick, frantic attacks. Pre-1.9 combat had its flaws, but it also had a rawness that made every fight feel intense. There was an unpredictability to every battle, a moment of tension where victory or defeat depended on reaction time, positioning, and a little bit of luck. The introduction of attack cooldowns and shields brought more strategy, but it also changed the flow of combat completely. Instead of relying on quick reflexes and fast movement, fights became about patience and careful execution. Some players welcomed this shift as it encouraged a more methodical approach to combat. Others, however, felt like the game had lost something essential. The sheer adrenaline rush of clicking as fast as possible, hoping to land the next hit before their opponent. No longer could you just jump into a fight and rely on sheer reflexes. Now you had to plan your attacks carefully, making combat feel slower and more calculated. For some, this was an improvement, adding depth to the mechanics. It introduced a level of planning that rewarded skill over speed, allowing players to think through their actions instead of button mashing their way to victory. But for others, this shift removed the organic flow of combat that had made every encounter feel alive and unpredictable. In older versions, even an unarmed player could outmaneuver a better equipped opponent with clever tactics and sheer aggression. That freedom, that ability to turn the tide of a battle through sheer will, was lost when combat became a game of cooldowns and shield timing. But for others, it stripped away the thrill of fast-paced battles, turning PvP into a chess game rather than an adrenaline-fueled duel. When you strip away complexity, sometimes what's left is something more pure, something that feels more like a game and less like a system you have to master. Older combat wasn't about mastering intricate mechanics or memorizing optimal strategies. It was about reacting in the moment, making split-second decisions, and feeling the rush of battle. It was simple, but in its simplicity, it allowed for more dynamic, spontaneous, and exciting encounters that felt uniquely Minecraft. Why Minecraft's world used to feel bigger. There was a time when travelling in Minecraft felt like an adventure. Every step into the unknown felt significant, and every biome transition was an event. The world didn't guide you, and there were no pre-established paths, just an open expanse that was yours to explore, with no guarantees of what you might find along the way. This unpredictability gave every journey a sense of weight, a sense that you were truly discovering something new rather than just moving through a set of predefined locations. You would walk in one direction and never know what was waiting over the next hill. The terrain was unpredictable, sometimes bizarre, but always exciting. Modern Minecraft has more diverse biomes, more detailed terrain, and a more structured world generation. On paper, this should make the game feel even bigger and more immersive, but paradoxically, it often has the opposite effect. The carefully crafted terrain and structured biomes create an experience that feels more curated, more expected. When everything is designed to flow smoothly together, the sensation of wandering into the unknown diminishes. You know there will be a village nearby, you know where specific resources are likely to spawn, and you rarely encounter something that feels truly unexpected. And yet, it often feels smaller. Why? Because when everything is planned, when biomes fit together neatly like puzzle pieces, the sense of discovery fades. You know what to expect before you even reach it. The mystery is gone. In early versions, the world felt endless because it was wild and unstructured. It was filled with strange, almost surreal formations, giant floating islands, impossible cliffs, and sudden, dramatic changes in elevation. These quirks gave the world character, making it feel like a place that had naturally formed over time, rather than one that was meticulously generated according to the algorithm. Exploration felt meaningful because you never knew what lay ahead. The landscape wasn't designed to make sense, it was designed to be discovered. Now, the predictability of modern terrain generations means that even when travelling far and wide, it often feels like you've seen it all before. You might find a mountain that looked like it defied physics, or a tiny floating island that served no real purpose other than to spark your imagination. Those quirks made the world feel alive and unique to you. Now, with every seed generating a predictable experience, the sense of personal adventure is harder to find. Minecraft's evolution. Progress or bloat? Every game needs to evolve to survive, but at what point does evolution turn into excess? New features should enhance the experience, adding depth and replayability without overwhelming the core mechanics that made the game special in the first place. Minecraft has undoubtedly grown in scope, introducing mechanics that cater to different playstyles. But with that growth comes a shift in priorities, one that raises the question of whether the game has retained its original charm or become something entirely different. Over the years, Minecraft has introduced hundreds of new features, new mobs, new blocks, new mechanics. Each update adds something new, but it also changes the game's core experience. What started as a simple survival sandbox has become a game with more mechanics than many RPGs. Hunger, complex crafting recipes, detailed villager trading, redstone contraptions, enchantments, and even boss fights. Each new system adds another layer to the game. While this variety offers something for everyone, it also creates an expectation that players must engage with these mechanics to get the most out of the game. The beauty of early Minecraft was that it didn't require mastery of intricate systems. It simply encouraged creativity and exploration, and everything else followed naturally. Now you have to manage hunger, potion effects, enchantments, villages, and complex crafting recipes. The game encourages automation, efficiency, and optimization, but in doing so, has it lost its simplicity? Old Minecraft forced you to be creative because there weren't many options. When there were only a handful of blocks to build with, every structure was a personal challenge in resourcefulness. Limited mechanics meant that players had to come up with the inventive solutions to problems rather than relying on structured in-game systems. Now, the sheer number of features means that some aspects of the game feel more like a checklist. Things to complete rather than things to experiment with. You had to make the most of what you had. Now, with so many choices, it's easy to get lost in decision paralysis, endless scrolling through building palettes, or trying to figure out the best gear setup. Sometimes having less makes a game feel more meaningful. How Minecraft's simplicity made it more creative. Ironically, fewer options can sometimes lead to more creativity. Constraints push people to think differently, to innovate, and to make the most out of what they have. Early Minecraft thrived on this philosophy. When there were only a handful of block types available, players had to be resourceful, using the same materials in different ways to create visually interesting and functional structures. It wasn't about finding the perfect block, it was about making something great with what you had. Early Minecraft didn't have 100 different building blocks, but that didn't stop people from creating stunning structures. You had to work within limitations, and that forced you to think outside the box. Now, with concrete, glazed terracotta, deep slate, copper, and countless variations of wood and stone, building has become more complex. On the surface, this seems like a good thing. It gives players more tools to work with and more control over aesthetics. However, it also introduces decision fatigue. When you have dozens of block types to choose from, it can be difficult to know where to start. The sheer variety can sometimes make building feel more like a technical skill than a free-form creative process, especially for players who aren't naturally inclined toward design. For some, this is a dream come true, but for others, it's overwhelming. When the game gives you too many tools, it becomes harder to know where to start. Think about Lego. The best creations often come from a limited set of pieces, where the challenge is to make something incredible with what you have. The beauty of old Minecraft was that everyone was working with the same limited toolkit, and that limitation fostered creativity rather than restricting it. Now, with so many options, building can feel less like a natural expression of creativity and more like a complex puzzle where only the most skilled designers can thrive. Instead of embracing the simplicity that made the game accessible to everyone, modern Minecraft sometimes feels like it expects players to be architects, leaving casual builders unsure of where to begin. In old Minecraft, building was like that. Now, it's more like having access to an unlimited inventory. Exciting for some, but paralysing for others. Why survival was harder, and maybe better, in old Minecraft. Survival used to feel like an actual struggle. Every decision you made could mean the difference between life and death, and there were no shortcuts to success. Food didn't stack, hunger didn't exist, and if you wanted to heal, you had to eat immediately. Every piece of food you carried took up a valuable inventory slot, making resource management a constant struggle. The game didn't hand you easy solutions. You had to earn them through exploration, strategy, and perseverance. There were no enchanted golden apples or overpowered potions. You survived by being cautious, by planning carefully, and by actually fearing the night. Today, the game is much more forgiving. Enchantments make armour nearly indestructible, farms can provide infinite food, and powerful potions can turn any fight in your favour. Even hostile mobs are easier to deal with, thanks to the improved armour, shields, and ranged combat mechanics. Instead of fearing the night, players now use it as an opportunity to gather resources or farm XP. The element of danger, once an ever-present reality, has become significantly diminished by mechanics designed to make the game more accessible and convenient. Survival isn't really about survival anymore. It's about progression. Once you reach a certain point, the challenge just disappears. Difficulty isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes struggling makes a game more immersive. It forces you to adapt, to be resourceful, and to engage deeply with the mechanics of survival. When every decision matters, when every battle is a risk, you feel more connected to the world. The tension of barely surviving a mob ambush, the relief of finding shelter just before nightfall, the excitement of finally acquiring a full set of iron armour. These moments created a sense of achievement that is harder to find in modern Minecraft. That's what made old Minecraft so gripping. It was a game where danger felt real, and where survival wasn't just about thriving, but about enduring the hardships of an untamed world. Why some people miss pre-villager Minecraft. Villagers have turned Minecraft into an economy simulator. What was once a game about gathering, surviving, and exploring has, for many, become a game of optimising trades and setting up automated farms. The introduction of villagers made acquiring resources far easier, but in doing so, it also shifted the way players approach survival. Instead of venturing into the depths of caves for diamonds or scouring strongholds for enchanted books, many players now simply build trading halls, reducing the need for exploration. You can trade for nearly anything, from enchanted books to diamond gear, without ever having to mine. In a way, this has removed one of the game's core experiences: exploration. Before villagers, if you wanted something rare, you had to find it. Diamonds were valuable not just because they were strong, but because they were scarce. If you wanted enchanted books, you had to grind experience, craft an enchanting table, and take a gamble on what enchantments you would get. The lack of a guaranteed system made every valuable item feel earned. Now, players can bypass much of the survival process by trading for powerful gear, reducing the sense of adventure that made the early games so thrilling. Diamonds were valuable because they were hard to get. Enchantments were special because they were required effort. Now you can set up a trading hall and get everything you need without ever leaving your base. This convenience is great for efficiency, but it also changes the way people play. It rewards patience and optimization rather than exploration and risk-taking. For those who love efficiency, it's a welcome change. But for those who enjoyed the struggle, the feeling of working hard for every resource, it can feel like the game has become too easy. The tension of searching for rare materials, the satisfaction of finally stumbling upon something valuable, those moments have become less frequent. When everything is easily accessible, the excitement of discovery fades. When resources come too easily, the game loses some of its magic. Sometimes having to work for something makes it more meaningful. The struggle, the setbacks, and the uncertainty of whether you will find what you need all add up to the experience. When you remove that struggle, you remove the stories that come with it. The tales of epic mining expeditions, of barely surviving a cave full of mobs, of finally crafting that perfect enchanted sword after days of grinding. These are the moments that stick with players. Pre-villager Minecraft encouraged persistence and problem solving, and for many that made every accomplishment feel like a true victory. Minecraft's lost sense of mystery. Do you remember the first time you saw a cave? The first time you heard a strange sound underground and had no idea what it was? Early Minecraft was full of mysteries, partly because there was so little information available. Every new discovery felt like an achievement. Every eerie noise sent a chill down your spine. You didn't know what was lurking in the darkness, and that uncertainty made the world feel more alive. Now, everything is documented. There are wikis, tutorials, and detailed breakdowns of every single mechanic. Players no longer have to experiment or figure things out on their own. Instead of stumbling upon secrets naturally, they go and look it up instantly for answers. While this accessibility helps new players, it also removes much of the game's original sense of exploration and self-discovery. The joy of trial and error, of wondering if something is possible and then testing it out, has largely been replaced with efficiency-driven playstyles. The game itself even gives you advancements that guide you through every step. While this is great for new players, it removes that sense of the unknown. Mystery is powerful. It makes you curious. It makes you wonder. It fuels a sense of adventure that keeps you engaged. When you don't know what lies beyond the horizon, or what strange mechanic you might uncover next, every moment feels meaningful. In the past, encountering a dungeon filled with skeletons or stumbling into abandoned mine shafts felt like finding something rare or special. Now, these things are expected. They're just another part of the game, neatly categorized and catalogued, stripping them of their former mystique. And when a game stops making you wonder, it starts to feel less like an adventure and more like a checklist of things to do. Instead of a world waiting to be uncovered, it becomes a structured experience with predefined steps. Perhaps that's why many players long for the early days, when Minecraft wasn't just a game, but a vast, unpredictable frontier where every moment felt like stepping into the unknown.